Hi, everyone. This is Krista Moore, and welcome to the Krista Moore Show. This show is brought to you as a way for me to interview select guests that can inspire you to be your best. I like to pull out their stories and really understand their area of expertise so that perhaps you can rediscover your passion and your purpose and soar in your life and in your career. My guest today is very timely, not only because it's a really hot topic, but branding is a question that I constantly get asked. Plus, I just recently did my own rebranding, so I thought it'd be awesome to have Annie Franceschi today. She's my branding partner, and also from Greatest Story Creative is the name of her company. So Annie, welcome to the Krista Moore Show. How are you today?
I'm great, Krista. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah. So I have talked to you pretty frequently over the past couple of months because we have worked very closely together on my personal rebrand. And I've learned so much from you that I would love to be able to kind of educate and inspire my guests on what rebranding is all about or branding in general. So that's kind of how I want to direct the conversation today.
Fantastic. Sounds good.
Now, we met a while ago. You're here in Raleigh, and I think, gosh, you were a guest on my show a couple of years ago in studio.
Yes.
And that was right when you published your book, Permission to Try.
Okay.
Yay! Love the book and highly recommended. So one of the things that I wanted to start out with is to introduce yourself to our guests, kind of tell them your story and why you do what you do today. What's inspired you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. As Krista sort of hinted at, I do branding, but I didn't know that that's what I've always loved to do ever since I was a little girl. I was always like giving things names, and I was always like creating kids' newsletters and designing T-shirts for my senior year of high school. Like I was always kind of making the stuff that you see, building websites before that was a thing, just because I wanted to do it growing up. So I didn't know that that was where I was going to end up. I thought I was going to be in the film industry. So I wrote screenplays. I thought I was going to be making movies in some regard. So that's what I went to school for. I went to Duke University and studied film and literature there. And I did multiple internships in Hollywood. I ultimately ended up working at the Walt Disney Studios. So for about...
Which is totally cool. And when you think about creativity and being able to really get the exposure to, just not only filmmaking, but writing and branding and imaging, that was just wonderful experience. But yeah. How did you land where you are now?
So I basically came up through the film industry thinking I was going to become a producer or a screenwriter, et cetera. So I landed on a team that helped develop the franchises of movies. So movies like Maleficent and Cinderella, I worked on those movies to help tell their stories through presentations. A little bit like what we're going to look at today. I know you're going to share some slides today. But I realized through that experience and sort of working in corporate America for close to 5 years that I didn't want my boss's job, and I wasn't really changing the world in the way I wanted to. I was working on big movies, but I wasn't really creating impact. So I had a heart-to-heart with myself in 2013 and said, is this really what I want to do with my life? And if this isn't, what the heck am I going to do? So I gave myself permission to try something new. And that's what I share that, funnily, but that's what the book's all about, is sort of this conversation with myself when I was 27, like, what are you really going to do? Is this really what you're going to commit to? Or are you going to create the life that you want? And so I reached that crossroads and I quit my dream job. I worked my way up to like this amazing job where I worked on big movies. And I said, I don't want this. I want something else. So,
when I hear in that story, and I really love so much, not only is that message of permission to try, but you said you quit your dream job. So it's okay that at one point in our life, we do believe that we've reached that pinnacle of success and achieving something that we've wanted, but there's something more, right? There's burning desire that, hey, what's next? Or I am meant to be giving back in a different way, and kind of doing that soul searching to rediscover what that is. And I think by having that conversation that you had with your 20-something self, you were able to create a new vision.
Right. Right. To craft a new vision. And so to get back to the beginning, and I just started doing things on the side. I started helping people tell their story. It actually started with doing pieces for people's weddings. So like custom programs and wedding invitations to help them tell their story in their wedding. And it led me to create my own business called Greatest Story Creative in 2013. So this fall, Greatest Story Creative will be 7 years old, and it's my baby. It's my full-time job for the past almost 7 years. And I've helped over 100 business owners tell their story through branding. So I sort of take what I was really good at my whole life, which is writing, design, and strategically bringing those things together. And I created a business out of it, which is essentially a branding agency, right?
Mm-hmm. And there's another part, you said it's your baby, but you have another baby.
I do have another baby.
And
He's the best baby.
Isn't that wonderful to be able to work at home too, and to be able to run your business and, be there for your child when you need to?
Yes. Well, and we're all living through such an interesting season, a really difficult season, I know, with coronavirus. And I was reflecting the other day with my husband that I have not been out for a business meeting this entire year, because I came back from maternity leave once the shutdown began, like at the beginning of April. So it has been a crazy year, but businesses are growing, and my business is growing despite the insanity. But you're right that the new baby is a wonderful highlight.
Mm-hmm. Well, you mentioned about businesses growing, and I really believe that the whole idea of branding or rebranding is really popular this year. And whether it's because people are making transitions or choices, but they're looking at, hey, how can I either rebrand myself or rebrand my company to communicate a different message? So I want to ask some questions around that. When you're talking with a business owner, let's say, what are some indications for you that, hey, they probably need to rebrand?
I think if I can distill it down to one word, it's a shift. So maybe you've seen a significant shift, or you're experiencing some sort of significant shift in who your ideal client is. So maybe you're learning, like you've had a couple clients like, oh, I really want to go in that direction, but my branding and my website don't reflect that kind of person. Your business model has shifted. So the thing that you were offering before, you're not offering now. You're selling more of one service, and it'd be much better if everything reflected that. If you've had a really significant shift in your business or who you're trying to serve, sort of what you offer or who you're trying to offer it to, or both, that is really the time to invest in a form of rebranding. And I'll also say too that you don't have to do, in some cases, it's not going to be the case that you need to have a whole new website and logo and those things. Sometimes there's a place for that where, for example, you look unprofessional, outdated. It really doesn't reflect you, like sort of the severity of the shift or the severity of how long ago it was that you actually invested in these materials. But sometimes it can be you love your visuals and your website still works, but you know that you're not clearly telling your story. And that can be fixed with having your story written out in a marketing message.
Yeah. So the two things that I picked up from what you said is the indication could be a shift, but it may be a shift in who your audience is or who you want to attract, or a shift in what you're doing or how you're going to market. Something that I've noticed over the years is there are many businesses that have been around for 30, 40 years that have their logo, have their message, and it has not shifted. It has not changed along with the times, so to speak. But the reservation there is, well, everybody knows us that way. Like it's recognizable. We've been around for 40 years. What would you say to someone that needs to shift but doesn't realize it?
I think you have to take the right lessons from context. So you're giving examples of companies that have been around for 40 years, and they likely have not just like a marketing person, but a marketing department. So it probably a millions of dollars marketing budget so that they can continue to sort of have the same positioning, logo, look and feel, and still tell differentiating stories. We get into trouble when we, as solopreneurs are looking at that example, right? And going, well, I don't want to change. It's like, well, do you have millions of dollars to keep making sure you're telling the right stories on a, product by product level? Probably not.
So that's a great example, Annie, because I think that there's a gap of businesses that are small businesses, aren't solo entrepreneurs,
Yep.
are small businesses, don't have marketing departments and have a logo or a message, but it needs to be freshened up. It needs to really be more authentic or shifted to resonate with their ideal customer.
I think a lot of it too, at the end of the day, is coming down to your confidence level. So if you are leading a small business, whether it's a 1-person business or a 10-person business, but you know that you aren't selling as well as you could, you are reluctant to market yourself well because you know what you're putting out there is inconsistent and not confident, that is affecting you more than anything. So that is the biggest problem I've been solving with coaches, consultants, and service business owners through Greatest Story is they come to me because they have unclear messaging, inconsistent branding, and that's keeping themselves from marketing themselves with confidence. So that is the biggest indicator, more even than a shift, is that if you're lacking confidence, you're not pushing your business forward. And branding can help give you the confidence that your message is right, that your look is right, that your website is putting out the right story to invite clients into what you do.
And I love what you're saying, because it really is about consistency, and I can speak for myself. So some of you know that I branded myself under K Coaching, which is the company that I founded 18 years ago. But there for a while, Krista Moore and K Coaching were kind of synonymous, but I never took Krista Moore as a brand in itself. And that I needed confidence to do that, right? I needed permission to try, to speak, right? Which is great from your book. But the idea that I could actually create a brand around me and my own name, that's a little bit intimidating. And there's some vulnerability in play, which is why I appreciated you hearing my story and being able to connect the dots and then repurpose something back to me that's like, oh, like, this is me. How did you do that? Because I'm too close to it.
Right. We all are. Yeah.
Yeah. And is that similar to what you experience when you're working with clients on a personal brand or a rebrand?
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that there's too much difference actually between a personal brand and a business brand, because a personal brand is often you selling something, whether it's you as a speaker, an author, you're selling books, it's still a business. It's more personal to you in that way, but it is about, I always say that my work is like being a translator. Like, I'm not an inventor, I'm a translator. So you, Krista, told me all these amazing things about you and your history. And then I help, as you said, connected the dots as you help others connect the dots of their purpose. I do that, but through marketing messaging and the design pieces, right? To bring it all together, to tell the story. But that is really about not inventing anything that was amazing about you. That stuff already existed. It's about shining the light and bringing it together in a way, making it a toolkit that you can use to grow your business and to grow the amazing things that now that you have the Krista Moore brand, you're going to be able to soar in your own passion and purpose.
It's awesome. And I have to say too, the deliverables, and this is something maybe for our audience, they've asked, like, what can I expect to get if I go to a branding professional? And this is probably a great time for anyone to chat in their questions for Annie or for myself, and we'll go ahead and share those on the screen and get them answered for you. But one of the questions that I've heard frequently is, do I brand myself personally, or do I brand my business? And let me add on to that. If I know what I know now, and let's say that I was working for a company, and let's say I was in sales, I might not think that I could personally brand myself and I would be more productive and sell more and be more efficient. But I know what I know now, and I would recommend that going down that path of personal branding, even if you don't have your own company, is still kind of the way to go. That's just my thoughts, and I wanted to have you answer
so that's the world of personal, like what we have traditionally heard as personal branding. So that's sort of like, I think it's more akin, I wish it was called reputation management, because I think that that's a little bit more of what it is. Branding, I think of more as what, like I've said before, whether it was you doing your name in front of something, or if it was K Coaching, they're sort of the same thing. You are a person who's selling something, who's created a business model. But when we talk about sort of personal branding, or as I would refer to it, reputation management, that is valuable because it works like business branding. People already think something about your business, just the way they already think something about you as a person. So take that sales professional idea, like people already have an idea of your reputation and who you are, AKA your brand. So what are you doing to positively impact it is the question. So
break through the noise.
Right.
Break through the noise. Also with consistency, and the messaging getting really clear. I want to share with the audience too that when I was interviewing different branding companies to determine who would be the best fit, I kind of had a little, bumps in the road on that, and made some decisions that kind of stalled me for a while. But neither here nor there. I just determined that it's very important to align yourself with someone that is just a good fit. Yeah. But someone told me along my research that, you'll never find a branding company that's great at messaging and the graphic design. And so I had this mindset that, no one's going to be good at both. But I discovered, Annie, and this is not a paid advertisement.
Thank you.
I mean, you were fabulous at both. I mean, the deliverable that I got back with the messaging and the design was just phenomenal. So tell me about those two components of branding, the messaging and the design, and how that comes together.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because I hadn't heard you say that before, but it's not surprising. I think we do have this mindset of, we have to go to a copywriter and we have to go to a graphic designer, because that's how most businesses are structured unless they're bigger agencies. So I am a one-person practice. However, I'm a weird unicorn who actually does the graphic design and the writing and the strategy in an integrated way. And I actually think that's sort of the Disneyfying that I brought to Greatest Story. Disney does these complete experiences for guests. That's what I try to do for my clients. So it's a one-stop shop solution, right? So the idea here is that, we get questions, what's the difference between a brand voice guide and the logo and the graphic design? Well, what I do as a complete solution is we write your marketing message, like your about story, a positioning statement, your tagline, those sorts of things that really set up how you talk about and write about what you do. But you have to complement that. How do you bring that to life in a visual way? That's your logo, your colors, your fonts, the things. He's down here on the scroll. I'm laughing because we've got the Krista Moore orange.
We've got the right color code in.
But it's like a marriage, right? So we're using strategy to knit everything together in what I call instead of a brand style guide, I call it a brand story guide. So that's what I deliver as an agency. It's a more complete solution, because you don't have to go to a separate copywriter. We're actually developing the message and the logo at the same time. So, the tagline for Krista's personal brand is Soar with Passion and Purpose. And she's got that kite soaring in her logo. And that's all really intentional. And I'm not sure we would have gotten to that same result had I just done the visuals or just done the messaging.
Yeah. I could see that for sure. One of the things too that I think that's important is when you spoke about confidence, you in addition to the about and the story, all of those things are repurposable for my new website that's under construction, and then also helping me market myself socially, because it's cut and paste. This is the message that I'm going to put in LinkedIn. This is the message I'm going to put in Facebook, but it also helps me with kind of that elevator pitch. So what do you do? And I have
30 seconds or less. Yeah.
That's a challenge. I was on a call last night with some students from NC State that were working on a PR campaign for someone that I'm an advisor to. And they asked, I was introducing myself, and I'm so mad at myself because I wish I would have said, hold on, because this is a PR communications class at NC State. I should have said, hold on, let me pull out what was created for me and let me, actually read it to you so you can hear the different elements of it that they're probably learning in their classroom.
Right. It's actually funny. I love that use case. My favorite is one of my clients actually takes his brand story guide colors with him when he goes shopping for clothes. So he looks on brand. He takes the colors. So these things have life way after the original project, right?
Oh, that's cool. That just gave me an idea. I love the color, and I have tons of colors and crayons. I'm going to try and find the exact match and and color something and be 10 again.
There you go. Be 10 again. That's right. It's all about being 10 again.
I colored a lot when I was 10. Whenever a customer is ready to take their brand and go to market or do a launch, what are recommendations that you have?
So are they rebranded? Like they have their brand ready to go and they want to review it?
Let's say they've been hiding out and they've been working on their brand or rebrand, and now it's time to launch it. What are some recommendations?
I always say, like, strategy is the sexiest S, but it's the one that always gets forgotten about. It's really like unsung hero. And I think everything is about strategy. So I don't think it's enough to say like, hey, I rebranded. Like that to me is not that interesting of a story, because it's not about your ideal client. And every great business or personal branding initiative is about your audience. It's about the people you're connecting with or the people that you are providing services or products to. So what I'd say instead is to think about it this way. What is that thing you want to highlight? Like, is it a free consultation? Is it an ebook that you just launched, or something connected to the brand that isn't just, hey, look at me, look at my website. It's, hey, we have a whole new chapter of helping you. And here is how we are helping you. Hop on my calendar for a 20-minute consultation, or get my amazing, purpose workbook. It's free today just for you to celebrate this new chapter. You want to be thinking about how are you making it about them and not about you? Because you're not the hero of your brand, even when it's Krista Moore. Krista Moore is not the hero of that brand. It's actually the amazing people that you inspire to live out their passion and purpose.
Well, that's good advice. So why don't you tell me what I should do?
So, Krista, I think that you should develop something amazing you could give away to help people find their purpose. And that is how we would message. We would say, I have a brand new chapter and I want you to have one too. And what's nice about that is if you give away some sort of purpose finding guide, something like that, you get people's email addresses so you can continue to connect with them and to offer more value.
And I don't think we're digressing. This is a learning environment.
It became a business meeting. Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Plus, I get to benefit from it because these are things I think about all the time. And maybe someone would be able to hear this and then relate to what they can do in their own business. But now I want to launch the retreat coming up in October, the Be 10 Again retreat, which and I wanted the brand prior to the launch of the retreat because it's all going to go under kind of that umbrella. Yep. So there's so much that I could be giving to my prospective retreat attendees that is aligned with Be 10 Again or your 10-year-old self, but yet not saying, hey, look at my new brand. Am I hearing you correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that it's basically about what you can do to add value to other people's lives. Like when you're doing something like that and you want to engage with people, like launch something of value. And I just think it's less valuable to be like, hey, look at me, look at my amazingness. It's like, look at your amazingness and I'm here to be your guide. So what does that look like? It means offering some sort of value.
That makes sense. So what's next for Annie Franceschi? What's your vision for your business or plans in this branding world?
When you first said that, I thought a nap sounds great. I'm in such an amazing season in business. I am so grateful, coming up year number 7. But I love who I work with and I love what I do. So I have done a couple new things. I have launched a private marketing program for my past clients. I'm really excited about that. And this December, I always take December off. So I'm very much hoping to work on my second book. And maybe have that come out next year. Definitely not happening this year, too busy. But
is there anything you want to share on what the topic is for your second book?
Yeah. So the first book was obviously Permission to Try, and that's a great book if you're thinking about pivoting your career, thinking about giving up something good, just needing some permission about sort of where you are in your career. Because that's what it was for me, really. And this next book is really it's kind of permission to keep going. It's permission if you create a business and to run that business with confidence. So I've been telling a lot of people that the second book is the business book, and it's really a confidence building book for business owners who lack understanding about branding and marketing, but just really that confidence to go out and own their expertise.
That sounds great. Thank you very much, Annie. Well, I wanted to share some contact information. So if anybody wants to reach out to you, plus I do know that on your website, you've got some great testimonies, great examples of branding kits that you've created for many companies. So it's also a good way to kind of see some of your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do offer a way to hop right on my calendar. So if this was interesting to you and you want to have a private conversation with me, you can always grab a free consultation. Just look for the big red button on Greatest Stories website.
Okay, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the time today. I know you're busy. I know how difficult it is to get on your calendar because I have been pre-scheduled out for 3 months now. So I know that if I wasn't pre-scheduled out, it would be hard to get an appointment. But I also know that you're very welcoming with your time. You do those free consultations, and there's so much more to the branding business than what we spoke about.
Absolutely.
Your web design, the photography aspects of branding, and also the marketing aspects. So not just the voice guide and the logo and the graphics, but marketing, website, and photography. So it's big, and you've got a great team.
Yeah, I have a virtual assistant and a design assistant, so we're pulling it all together. But and I advise on photography. I actually don't do the photography myself, but there's a lot to branding, right? We could never cover it all in one episode, but I am so excited to be able to.
Oh, you do a podcast too, right, Annie? I mean, isn't there?
So it's not a podcast yet. So I have a series. Two things is I have a series called Branding with Friends, which is great if you're learning more about branding. You want to learn about branding and SEO, branding and marketing. brandingwithfriends.com. And then I teach a free monthly workshop called Branding with Annie. So if you want to learn how to work on your brand voice, I'm actually teaching a free workshop next month. It's at brandingwithannie.com.
All right, great. So that can all be found on your website as well.
That's correct.
All right, cool. Thank you, Annie. Great seeing you. Talk with you soon.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Krista.
I just want to thank everyone for taking the time to join in on the conversation about branding. Hopefully it inspired you to maybe shake some things up, refresh your own branding. But I also want to encourage you to watch the Krista Moore Show every Wednesday at 2:00. We come live and we are streaming through Facebook and YouTube. So follow and subscribe and you'll get regular reminders of our schedule. I'm always looking for fabulous guests. Anyone that you think would be great, send me a quick email and I'll make sure I follow up with them. But until then, I hope you soar. Take care.